was living in a $39 a night motel room, eating cold beans straight from a can, when the knock came at 2 in the morning. The man at my door wore a $5,000 suit and knew my name. "Vernon Hutchins?" he asked. "Yeah, that's me. If you're here about money, I don't have any. Your ex-wife Melody doesn't know I'm here. But what I'm about to tell you will change everything you thought you knew about her cancer, your divorce, and why she really left you. My name is Vernon Hutchins. I'm 45 years old, and 6 months ago I had everything. A successful construction company, a house I built with my own hands, 2 beautiful kids, and a wife I'd loved since high school. Now I live in room 107 of the Sunset Valley Motel, where the walls are so thin I can hear my neighbor crying himself to sleep every night. Sometimes I wonder if he can hear me doing the same. The man in the expensive suit was still standing at my door, holding a leather briefcase that probably cost more than my monthly motel bill. Behind him, the parking lot's flickering neon light made shadows dance across his face. He looked like the kind of man who never had to sell his wedding ring to pay for someone else's medical bills. The kind of man my ex-wife said she wanted instead of me. "May I come in, Mr. Hutchins? What I have to show you shouldn't be discussed in a doorway." I looked around my pathetic room, the unmade bed, a hot plate on a card table, and boxes of my life stacked against the wall. Not exactly set up for visitors, but something in his eyes made me step aside. "5 minutes," I said, "then you need to leave." He walked in, set his briefcase on my bed, and turned to face me. "Mr. Hutchins, my name is Theodore Ashford. I'm a private investigator, and I've been hired by someone who cares about you very much. Someone who never believed the story your wife told." "Ex-wife," I corrected him, the word still bitter in my mouth. "Yes, of course. Your ex-wife Melody." He opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick manila folder. "Tell me, Mr. Hutchins, did you ever meet Dr. Harrison Vance before your wife's diagnosis?" "Her oncologist?" "No, she found him through a specialist referral. Said he was the best in Denver for ovarian cancer. Why?" Theodore pulled out a photograph. It showed Melody at what looked like a family barbecue, laughing with a man I recognized immediately. Dr. Vance. But this photo was dated 3 years ago, long before her diagnosis. "Dr. Harrison Vance is your ex-wife's second cousin, Mr. Hutchins, and he's been helping her plan something truly evil for the past 2 years. The room started spinning. I grabbed the back of a chair to steady myself. That's impossible. I saw her suffering. The chemo, the weight loss, the fear in her eyes. All carefully orchestrated, I'm afraid, but we'll get to that. He pulled out another document. This is a bank statement from an account in the Cayman Islands. Your ex-wife has been depositing money there every time you sold something to pay for her treatments. Your house netted her $400,000. Your construction equipment, another $200,000. Your father's Harley, your wedding ring, all of it went straight from the medical payments to her offshore account. I sat down hard on the bed. The cheap mattress creaked under my weight. My hands were shaking now, and not from the cold that seeped through the motel's thin walls. You're telling me she never had cancer? The medical records were falsified. The chemotherapy was actually a combination of saline solution and specific vitamins that would make her sick enough to seem authentic. She lost weight through strict dieting and prescription medications. Every single aspect was planned, documented, and executed with the help of Dr. Vance and her divorce attorney, Brent Caldwell. Brent Caldwell, the shark who had torn me apart in court. The man who painted me as an unstable, broke failure who couldn't provide for his children. The man who stood next to Melody as she took my kids away. How long have you known this? My voice came out as a whisper. I've been investigating for 6 months, hired the day after your divorce was finalized. Theodore sat down in the rickety chair across from me. The person who hired me suspected something was wrong when Melody refused to let them attend any medical appointments. They've been quietly gathering evidence ever since, waiting for the right moment to reveal the truth. Who hired you? Theodore smiled for the first time since entering my room. "Your father, Earl Hutchins, he never believed Melody was sick, Mr. Hutchins. He said, and I quote, 'My boy would give everything for family, but I'll be damned if I let him lose everything to a lie.'" The tears came then. Hot, angry tears that I'd been holding back for months. My father, who I'd pushed away when he offered help, who I'd been too proud to accept money from, had been fighting for me this whole time. Dad knew? He knew something was wrong. Your mother June helped too, following Melody when she said she was going to treatments. They documented everything. Your brother Dalton helped track the money trails. Your whole family has been working to save you, Vernon. You were never alone, even when you felt like you were. I thought about all those nights in this motel room, wondering if my kids Colton and Piper would ever forgive me for losing everything, for not being the father they deserved. I thought about Melody's cruel laugh when she told me she wanted a real man, how she'd taken my children and poisoned them against me, and all along it had been a lie. "What happens now?" I asked. Theodore stood up, straightening his suit. "Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. the FBI will arrest Melody and Brent Caldwell on charges of fraud, conspiracy, embezzlement, and about a dozen other federal crimes. Dr. Vance has already confessed in exchange for a reduced sentence. Your children have been told the truth and are currently with your parents, waiting for you to come home." "Home? I don't have a home anymore." "Actually, you do." Theodore pulled out a deed. "Your father bought your house through a trust the day you sold it. He's been maintaining it, keeping your workshop exactly as you left it. He said you'd need it when this was all over." I stared at the deed with my address on it. The house I'd built with my own hands, where I'd raised my children, where I'd thought I'd grow old with Melody. It had been waiting for me all along. Why didn't anyone tell me sooner? We needed ironclad evidence. Your ex-wife was very careful, very smart. One wrong move and she would have disappeared with the money and possibly the children. We had to wait until we had everything documented, every crime proven beyond doubt. Theodore moved toward the door, then turned back. "Your father asked me to tell you something. He said you did exactly what he raised you to do. You put family first. You sacrificed everything for love. The fact that she exploited that doesn't make you weak, Vernon. It makes her evil. And evil only wins when good men stop fighting. Your fight isn't over. It's just beginning." As he reached for the door handle, I found my voice again. "Wait, you said someone knocked on my door and changed everything. But you haven't changed anything yet. You've just told me the truth." Theodore smiled again, broader this time. "Mr. Hutchins, the truth is the most powerful change agent in the world. In 12 hours, your ex-wife will be in federal custody. Your children will be back in your arms. Your business can be rebuilt, but most importantly, you'll know that your family never gave up on you. If that's not everything changing, I don't know what is." He opened the door to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Vernon, your father said to tell you that Chester Pike and your old construction crew have been turning down jobs for 6 months, waiting for you to come back. They never believed Melody either. Sometimes the family we choose is just as powerful as the family we're born into." The door closed behind him, leaving me alone in the room 107 with a truth that would reshape everything I thought I knew about the worst year of my life. Before everything fell apart, I had the kind of life other men envied. Not wealthy, but comfortable. Not famous, but respected. I ran Hutchins Construction in Denver, a company I'd built from nothing but a pickup truck and a toolbox my grandfather left me. We specialized in custom homes, the kind where every detail mattered. My hands had framed hundreds of houses, but the one I was proudest of was my own. I remember the morning everything was still perfect. It was a Thursday in March, and I woke up at 5:30 like always. Melody was still asleep beside me, her dark hair spread across the pillow. 20 years of marriage, and I still felt lucky watching her breathe. She'd left away a note on my nightstand like she did every morning. "Coffee's ready. Lunch is in the fridge. Love you, Vern. Downstairs, my son Colton was already at the kitchen table, 14 years old and built like I was at that age, all knees and elbows waiting for the rest of him to catch up. He was studying his playbook for spring football practice. Morning, Dad. Can you run plays with me later? After work, buddy. We'll throw the ball around until your arm gets tired. My daughter Piper came down next, carrying her violin case like it contained gold. She had my mother's musical talent and Melody's determination. At 14, she was already first chair in the high school orchestra, despite being the youngest member. Dad, the spring concert is next month. You'll be there, right? Wouldn't miss it for the world, sweetheart. This was our routine. Breakfast together, everyone talking over each other. Melody packing lunches while reminding us about dentist appointments and soccer practices. I'd kiss everyone goodbye and head to work, where my crew would already be loading trucks. Chester Pike, my foreman for 8 years, would hand me the day's schedule. Vernon, we got the Riverside property framing today and Mrs. Patterson wants to change her kitchen layout again. 3rd time this month? 4th, but who's counting? We'd laugh because that's what you did. You dealt with difficult clients and weather delays and lumber shortages, and you built something beautiful anyway. My crew was solid, 8 men who showed up early and stayed late when needed, men who took pride in doing things right the first time. My father, Earl Hutchins, would stop by the job site sometimes, 73 years old and still built like a linebacker. He'd run Hutchins Construction before me, back when everything was done with hand tools and sweat. He'd walk through my projects, running his hand along the framing, checking corners with his practiced eye. Good work, son. Your grandfather would be proud. Thanks, Dad. Your mother wants you all over for Sunday dinner. Don't be late. Sunday dinners at my parents' house were sacred. My mother, June, would cook enough food for an army. My brother Dalton would show up with his wife and 3 kids. We'd eat until we couldn't move, then sit on the back porch while the kids played in the yard. Dalton worked as a mechanic, had grease permanently embedded under his fingernails, but he could fix anything with an engine. Vern, you ever think about expanding? Maybe getting into commercial properties? Nah, I like knowing the families who'll live in what I build. It's personal, you know? Melody would help Mom with the dishes, their laughter drifting through the kitchen window. They'd been close since high school when I first brought her home. Mom had pulled me aside that night and said, "That one's special, Vernon. Don't mess it up." I hadn't. Or at least I thought I hadn't. The Tuesday that changed everything started like any other. Melody had been tired lately, complained about some stomach pain. I'd been after her to see a doctor, but she kept putting it off. Then she called me at work, crying so hard I could barely understand her. "Vern, I'm at the hospital. They found something. Can you come?" I left Chester in charge and drove to Denver General, breaking every speed limit. Found Melody in the oncology ward, still in a paper gown, mascara streaked down her cheeks. Dr. Harrison Vance stood beside her, tall and serious in his white coat. "Mr. Hutchins, your wife has stage 3 ovarian cancer. We'll need to start aggressive treatment immediately." The words hit like a sledgehammer to the chest. Cancer. The same thing that took my grandmother, my uncle, Melody's father. I sat down hard in the visitor's chair while Dr. Vance explained treatment options, survival rates, costs. The numbers blurred together. All I could focus on was Melody's hand in mine, trembling like a bird. In the parking garage afterward, she broke down completely. We sat in my truck while she sobbed against my chest, her fingers clutched in my work shirt. "I don't want to die, Vern. I want to see our kids graduate, get married, have babies. I want to grow old with you." I held her face in my calloused hands, looked straight into those green eyes I'd fallen in love with at 17. "Baby, I'd sell my soul to keep you here. We're going to beat this thing. Whatever it takes, whatever it costs, we're going to win." She kissed me then, desperate and frightened. "Promise me, Vern, promise me you won't let me die." "I promise, Mel. I swear on everything I am, Everything I have, you're going to survive this." That night, after the kids were asleep, we sat at our kitchen table with insurance paperwork spread out like a map to hell. Coverage limits, deductibles, experimental treatment exclusions. The numbers were staggering. Insurance would cover $60,000. The rest would be on us. "We'll figure it out," I told her. "The house has equity. The business is doing well. We have options." She squeezed my hand. "I love you, Vernon Hutchins." "I love you too, Melody. We're going to get through this together." Looking back now, knowing what I know, I can see the signs I missed. The way she turned away when she said she loved me. The calculation in her eyes when we discussed selling assets. The quick phone call she made to someone she said was her sister, but her sister lived in Seattle and it was past midnight there. But that night, all I saw was my wife, terrified and fragile, needing me to be strong. So, I was strong. I made plans and spreadsheets and lists of everything we could sell. I called contractors I knew, asked about taking on extra work. I was ready to move heaven and earth. Because that's what you do for family. That's what a real man does. At least, that's what I thought a real man did before I learned that sometimes the person you're trying to save is the one holding the knife. The bills started arriving 2 weeks after Melody's diagnosis. Each envelope felt heavier than the last. I'd sit at the kitchen table after everyone was asleep, calculator in hand, trying to make the numbers work. They never did. The first bill was $47,000 for diagnostics and initial consultations. Insurance covered $12,000. I emptied our savings account and paid the rest. Melody found me staring at the bank statement the next morning. "Vern, this is too much. Maybe we should get a second opinion, find a cheaper option." "There is no cheaper option for stage 3, Mel. Dr. Vance is the best. That's what you need." She kissed my forehead, and I should have noticed she was already showered and dressed at 5 in the morning. "I have treatment at 9. You don't need to come. Focus on work. I want to be there with you." "No, really, I'll be fine. Someone needs to keep making money, right?" The construction business was doing well, but not well enough. I had 3 houses under contract, but construction meant paying crews and suppliers before getting paid yourself. Cash flow was tight on a good day. These weren't good days anymore. Chester Pike noticed the stress first. "Boss, you okay? You've been distracted lately." "Melody's sick, Chess. Cancer." His face went white. Chester had lost his wife to breast cancer 5 years earlier. "Jesus, Vern, what do you need? A miracle, or about $300,000? "Same thing these days." He paused. "I've got $20,000 saved. It's yours." "I can't take your money, Chess. You gave me a job when nobody else would, right after Beth died. I was a drunk mess, and you took a chance. Take the money, Vern." I took it. Pride is expensive when your wife is dying. The second round of bills came with Dr. Vance's recommendation for experimental treatment. "There's a new drug combination showing remarkable results," he explained in his pristine office. "It's not FDA approved yet, so insurance won't cover it, but I've seen tumors shrink by 70%. "How much?" Melody asked, gripping my hand. "The treatment protocol is approximately $180,000. Melody started to object, but I cut her off. "We'll find it." I sold the construction equipment first. The excavator I'd saved 3 years to buy, the dump trucks, the crane, all the tools that let me take on bigger projects. Posted them online Sunday night, sold them by Wednesday. Had to call my clients and explain the delays this would cause. Mrs. Patterson was understanding. "Vernon, take all the time you need. Family comes first." But the Riverside developers weren't as kind. They pulled the contract, demanded their deposit back. Just like that, $60,000 in future profit vanished. I had to let the crew go next. Called them into the office trailer on a Friday afternoon. These men had worked for me for years. They'd been at my kids' birthday parties, my father's retirement celebration. "I gotta shut down for a while, boys. I'm sorry." Miguel, my best framer, shook his head. We can work for less, boss, take pay cuts. It wouldn't be enough. I need you to file for unemployment, find other work. When this is over, if you'll have me, I'll hire every one of you back." They filed out quietly. Chester stayed behind. "This isn't right, Vern. Something feels off about all this. Cancer doesn't care about what feels right, Chess." The house went on the market in month 3. The house I'd built with my own hands, where every wall held a memory. Colton found me standing in the workshop I'd added the year he was born. "Dad, are we really moving?" "It's just temporary, son. When Mom gets better, we'll build another house, a better one." "I don't want a better one, I want this one." So did I, but the house sold in 2 weeks, $420,000. After paying off the mortgage, we cleared $300,000. It went straight to medical bills and the new treatment protocol. We moved into a 2-bedroom rental apartment downtown. Piper had to share a room with her brother for the first time in her life. She didn't complain, at least not to me, but I heard her crying at night through the thin walls. My father came by the apartment one evening, saw me packing up my tools to sell. "Vernon, this has gone far enough. Let me help." "Dad, you and Mom need your retirement money." "We need our son more. Your mother agrees. We can give you $50,000. "I won't take it." He slammed his hand on the table, something he hadn't done since I was a teenager. "Damn your pride, boy. You're drowning and won't take a life preserver." "My wife, my responsibility. Your family, our responsibility. That's how this works." But I wouldn't budge. Looking back, I wish I had. It would have saved more than money. The wedding ring was the last thing to go. 3 carats, platinum band, bought when I landed my first big construction contract. I'd promised Melody she'd never have to take it off. Now I was taking mine off at Goldman's pawn shop on Colfax Avenue. Mr. Goldstein, who'd known my family for 40 years, looked at it sadly. "Vernon, this ring has a story. Your grandfather bought the original band from my father in 1955. You had it reset for Melody. How much can you give me?" "It's worth $8,000. I'll give you 15. "I can't take charity, Mr. Goldstein." "It's not charity. It's an investment in a good man having a bad year." I took the 15,000, added it to the 10,000 I got for my father's Harley, which I'd sold without telling him. That covered another month of treatment. Meanwhile, Melody was getting better, at least physically. The weight she'd lost made her cheekbones sharp, but her color was returning. Dr. Vance showed us scans where the tumors had shrunk dramatically. "The treatment is working better than expected," he announced. "I think we're looking at full remission within 2 months." Melody cried with relief. I felt nothing but exhaustion. We'd won, but at what cost? I was down to nothing, no business, no house, no savings. But she was alive. That was supposed to be enough. My brother Dalton pulled me aside at Sunday dinner. "Vern, something's not right. Melody seems different." "She's been through hell, Dal." "No, it's something else. The way she looks at you, like she's disappointed or something." "You're imagining things." But he wasn't. I just couldn't see it yet. Or maybe I didn't want to see it. When you've given everything for someone, you can't afford to question if they were worth it. That kind of thinking could drive a man insane. The same week Dr. Vance declared Melody cancer-free, she started getting text messages that made her smile. When I asked who she was talking to, she said it was her support group. "They understand what I've been through," she said, not looking at me. "You wouldn't get it." I should have known then. The woman who'd shared everything with me for 20 years suddenly had secrets, but I was too tired to fight, too broke to think straight, and too relieved she was alive to question the distance growing between us. 6 weeks after Melody's final clear scan, I came home from a day labor job to find suitcases in our bedroom. She was folding clothes with the kind of precision she used when she was angry. The apartment smelled like her expensive perfume, the one she'd stopped wearing during treatment, but had suddenly started using again. "Mel, what's happening? Are we going somewhere?" She didn't look up from her packing. "I'm leaving you, Vernon." The words didn't make sense. I'd just spent 14 months selling everything I'd worked for to save her life. We'd won. She was cancer-free. We were supposed to rebuild together. "I don't understand. Is this about the money?" "I'll build it back, Mel. Give me time." She finally looked at me, and her eyes were cold as January ice. "Look at yourself, Vernon. You're pathetic. Working day labor like some illegal immigrant, living in this dump, wearing the same 3 shirts because you sold everything else. I sold everything to save your life, and that's exactly the problem." She laughed, and it was a sound I'd never heard from her before. Cruel, sharp. A real man wouldn't have lost everything. A real man would have found a way to keep his business, his house, his dignity. A real man? I gave up everything for you. No, you gave up everything because you're weak. My lawyer, Brent Caldwell, now there's a man who knows how to handle life. He saw my potential, saw what I could become without you dragging me down. Brent Caldwell? I knew that name. He was the divorce attorney with the billboard on I-25, the one that said, "Take him for everything he's worth." You're having an affair? It's not an affair when the marriage is already dead, Vernon. It died the day you sold our house, maybe before. I watched you scramble and beg for money, saw you groveling to that pawn shop owner, watched you fire your crew like a coward. It was disgusting. My hands were shaking now. I was trying to save your life. Well, congratulations. You saved it. And now I'm going to live it properly with someone who isn't a complete failure. The divorce papers were already drawn up. She handed them to me like she was giving me a work invoice. "Brent says you'll need to get your own lawyer, though I don't know how you'll afford one. I'm seeking full custody of the children, spousal support, and half of any future earnings from your construction business when you rebuild it. You can't take my kids, Melody. I can and I will. They need stability, Vernon, not a father who lives in motels and works under the table for cash." My brother Dalton arrived within an hour of my call. He found me sitting on the apartment steps, divorce papers still in my hand. He read through them, his face getting redder with each page. "This is insane, Vern. She can't do this. You saved her life. Apparently, that makes me weak. We're fighting this. I'll call every lawyer in Denver if I have to. But lawyers cost money and I had none. Legal aid assigned me a public defender named Patricia Moss, fresh out of law school and overwhelmed with cases. She reviewed my financial documents with the enthusiasm of someone reading a grocery list. "Mr. Hutchins, you have no assets, no steady income, and you're living in a space that wouldn't meet custody requirements for 2 teenagers. Mrs. Hutchins has already moved into a 4-bedroom house in Cherry Creek with Mr. Caldwell. He's her divorce lawyer, and now her fiancé, according to these documents. It doesn't look good." The custody hearing was 3 weeks later. I wore my only suit, the one I'd kept for funerals. Melody showed up in designer clothes I'd never seen before, Brent Caldwell at her side like he'd already won. Judge Maureen Thornton presided. She was known for being fair, but strict about children's welfare. Melody testified first, painting a picture of me as unstable, financially irresponsible, possibly depressed. "He sold our family home without truly consulting me," she told the judge, tears perfectly timed. "He made reckless financial decisions that left our children without stability. I'm concerned about his mental state." When my turn came, I tried to explain. "Your Honor, I sold everything to pay for Melody's cancer treatment. The medical bills were over $300,000. "And where are those medical records?" Caldwell interrupted. "My client's health information is private, but I can assure the court she would have survived with standard treatment. Mr. Hutchins chose to pursue excessive measures that bankrupted the family unnecessarily." "Excessive? She had stage 3 cancer." Judge Thornton called for order. Then came the worst part. My children were brought in to testify. Colton wouldn't meet my eyes. Piper stared at her hands. "Would you prefer to live with your mother or father?" the judge asked. Colton's voice was flat, rehearsed. Mom's house is better for us. Dad can visit, but we need stability. Piper just nodded, tears streaming down her face. I wanted to scream that their mother had coached them, threatened them, but I had no proof. Patricia Moss didn't object to anything. She seemed defeated before we'd even started. The ruling was swift. Given Mr. Hutchins' current financial situation and living arrangements, I award full custody to Mrs. Hutchins. Mr. Hutchins will have supervised visitation every other weekend. Additionally, he will pay $500 monthly in child support and 30% of any future earnings exceeding $40,000 annually for spousal support. Your Honor, I don't even have $500. Then, I suggest you find employment quickly, Mr. Hutchins, or face contempt charges. Outside the courthouse, Melody walked past me with the kids. Colton tried to stop, but she pulled him along. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be," she said loudly enough for everyone to hear. Brent Caldwell stopped beside me. "You should have just let her go when you had the chance, Vernon. Some men aren't meant to play in the big leagues. I loved her. And that was your first mistake. Love is for people who can afford it." That night, I moved into the Sunset Valley Motel. $39 a night paid weekly. The owner, Mrs. Chen, had kind eyes and didn't ask questions when I paid in wrinkled cash. "Room 107, she said, handing me the key. "It's quiet. You look like you need quiet." The room smelled like cigarettes and failure. One bed, one chair, a TV that got 3 channels. I sat on the bed and called Dalton. "I lost everything, Dal. My kids, my wife, my entire life." "You didn't lose everything, Vern. You're still here, and as long as you're here, you can fight back." "With what? I have nothing left to fight with." "You have us. Me, Mom, Dad. We're not giving up on you." But sitting in that motel room, looking at the water-stained ceiling, I'd given up on myself. I'd done everything right, everything a good man was supposed to do, and it had all been for nothing. Melody was living in a mansion with her lawyer. My kids thought I was a failure, and I was eating canned beans in a motel that rented rooms by the hour. 3 weeks passed in a blur of day labor and silence. I stopped answering my family's calls. Stopped hoping things would get better. I existed, nothing more. Then came the knock at 2 in the morning that would change everything. The knock that would reveal the truth behind the lie I'd been living. The knock that would prove